Home Show. And this morning, it's my pleasure to have with us again Jim Cressman, who is the owner of 3R Services in Denver, and Jim does major remodels, pop tops, and basement finishes. How are you this morning, Jim?
I'm good. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks for coming. Today's the topic is basically remodeling, because we've talked about basement finishing in the past, but I see, based on the construction report, phone calls coming in and things of that nature, just a lot of pop tops and major remodels. So we want to give some education on that stuff. That's okay. And my first question to you is really, what's the difference in pricing and process with new construction versus remodeling?
Well, the process is essentially the same from a practical standpoint. You've got hammers and saws and nails and lumber, but the work process is very different because a lot of times you're in someone's home, either in the basement or upstairs redoing the floor plan or getting ready to break through when you do an addition, whether it's a pop top or whether it's a backyard addition. And the productivity is quite a bit different because you are working, usually setting your tools up outside, you're masking and covering a lot of things, and you are also working in someone's home. So it's not like a raw construction site. So the productivity and the work practices are very much different from new construction.
So it sounds like remodeling in an existing home is more difficult than new construction. Would that be the right way to put it?
Yeah, the typical thing that everybody realizes is that you run into unexpected circumstances when you open up a wall or that you consider some structural elements, and you have to take care of that. But beyond that, the craftsman and the contractor is working in someone's home. So it's very important to give enough time and budget for cleanup, for masking and covering. And you also want, how do I say this, a certain kind of person to be working in your house. You want to be able to trust, and you want that person to be able to communicate, because you're essentially going over the work process every day as the customer. So they need to be compatible. They need to know the values of working in someone's home and keeping it as clean as possible, although it's never totally clean. It's a difficult process both for the contractor and a lot of times for the customer.
You know, that's a good point. I remember years ago going out to meet a contractor on a job site for some reason, and it was a major interior remodel. And I remember the guys were in the backyard, the workers. I don't know if they were framers, but they had this loud music just blaring like crazy. And I actually mentioned it to them. I said, that can't be great for the neighbors or for the homeowner. And new construction, when they're building whatever, 40 houses and there's no neighbors, that's not a big deal. But I think that's a really good point, Jim. You know, you need a contractor who understands those things, that these people will be in your home and your environment. Well, let me ask you this. The pricing is going to be different too, I mean, right?
Yes, because the labor is less streamlined. You can't normally, if you're doing a bathroom tile, you're not going to set your saw up in the bathroom. You're not going to set it up in the living room. You're going to have to set it up outside. So every time you make a cut, and if you're doing really good work, you're going to adjust those cuts by the small measurements. Then each time you walk 20 feet to go make a cut, walk 20 feet back. So in a new construction, obviously you set it up right there, and you can turn around and make the cut and turn around and adjust the cut. So very different. And the pricing has to reflect that, because that's just the way the market is.
So the lesson there is you cannot compare new construction pricing with remodeling.
That's correct.
Too many differences. Tell me, what type of remodeling projects are you seeing in Denver? I know you do a lot of work in Denver proper, Westminster, Arvada, really all over the metro area. What are the big remodeling projects you're seeing and the ones you like to work on?
The most calls that I'm getting these days are for additions, and they're usually master bedroom suites. So they add on to some, or they'll add on a little bit to the floor space, or they'll rearrange some interior partitions and try to get a bathroom with a master closet and a master bathroom in it. We're getting a lot of those calls.
Okay, so and that's in the world of additions. That's, I don't want to overstate it, but that's a more simple addition to do versus a pop top or something like that, right?
Yeah, an addition, a ground floor addition, allows it to be built substantially before we break into the existing house where presumably the customer's living. On a pop top, there's a certain amount of time where you just have to be out of the house when we're going through it and cutting in stairwell openings and have the roof off. So it's way easier for the customer to have a ground floor addition.
Probably not a lot more disruptive than having a big deck built.
Well, yes, it is, because you are eventually going to open up the house and do whatever you have to do structurally, so that a lot of times it's going to be a long beam under a bearing wall, or that's bearing the roof, or it's going to be maybe a couple of doors, or you're going to fill in some windows. It's all very site specific, but everything else can be substantially dried in before you even do that, so that there's a minimal amount of time that you're actually disturbed by construction in the house that you live in.
Okay, and I'm going to put that on my list of some of the dumbest questions Mike's ever asked as far as deck versus addition. But that being said, what's it going to cost somebody? And I know you can't give us an exact quote, obviously, but what are the ballpark ranges? I want to add a master bedroom with a nice bathroom as well, master suite, onto my home. What's that going to cost me, and how long is it going to take?
These days, it depends on the market is really hot, but these days I would say you could count on $150 to $180 a square foot for a master bedroom addition with the bathroom, and a typical price for a pop top these days is probably over $200.
Okay, so tell me what that means, and I'm going to write a check for a total amount if I'm doing my master bedroom addition. What's that going to cost me? $80,000?
I'm sorry?
What's that going to cost me? Is it going to be $80,000, $100,000?
I'd say between 50 and 80 at the minimum, unless you want to add 3 feet or something like that, because again, the smaller the job, the higher the unit costs.
Right. So if I have 70,000 or 60 or 70,000, I can probably feel comfortable.
I think so. Yeah, you could definitely consider that.
Okay, good. What about a pop top? You said it's like $200 a square foot.
Yeah, so 1,000 square feet would be 200,000.
Okay, and that's everything.
That's 200 and up, I would say. Everything's very site specific when you're doing remodeling costing as well. It's not cookie cutter, and it's best to have somebody as a remodeler that understands that. It's very site specific. You got to consider what the work environment is. You also have to consider what the masking and covering requirements are, and that sort of thing while you cost.
And again,
smaller projects are going to cost more per unit just because there are fixed costs involved as well. So
right. So when
very site specific costing.
So when a homeowner says, sometimes they don't understand that a 300 square foot addition per square foot is going to be higher than a 700 square foot addition. So
exactly, and also what you put in that 300. Are you going to put a bathroom in? Are you going to put a laundry nook in? How many partitions? How many rooms are you going to have in there? What is your roof line design, and how is it going to match your existing? So those are all very site specific and very plan specific costs.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, a bathroom, as far as square footage, cost per square foot is some of the most expensive cost per square foot you have. So
exactly.
Whether it's in 200 square feet or 1,000, it's going to cost that and up that rate. So
exactly.
If somebody's doing a pop top, how long is it going to take? Let's start actually with the home edition. Somebody's doing a master bath edition. From construction start to finish, how long do those things take?
A master bath is probably about 8 weeks for us to do it.
Okay. And is that pretty standard in the industry, or is that fast, or where do you?
I really don't know, because our emphasis is on quality and what it takes to get the right product, and not what it takes to call it finished as a priority. And so I don't really. I mean, I know I'm in a competitive business, but we know what it takes for us to deliver a very good product. And that's all I can tell you.
No, that's a great answer. I mean, the reality is there might be a week or two difference, but you're going to live in that home for another 5 or 15 years. So,
right. And a typical remodeling, I suppose I should mention this, is a tough process for both the contractor and the customer. And it's inevitably going to take longer than the customer's comfortable with, because he'd like it done in a week so he can get back to normal living. But when you go through the process, and the contractor would like to finish it in a week too, because he can move on to the next job, and his cash flow is more healthy. But so there's an incentive on both sides to get the work done. But you have to balance that with the fact that quality work takes a certain amount of effort and time.
Yeah, and there's always things, or there can be things that just happen, right?
Oh, there always are.
Tile showing up late, windows not being, whatever. There, that's what folks don't really get sometimes. Like, I want a absolute 7-week window. Well, if the window guys, they deliver the wrong size windows, you may have 2 extra weeks there, or the cabinetry. So that I don't know what percentage of remodeling projects go exactly to schedule, but not too many, right?
Not in my experience. Sometimes we hit what we say, but it's the hardest question really to answer when you're talking with someone about a job, because you don't know. And you also, for general contractors, you're using a lot of subcontractors, and it's a very hot market in the Denver area right now. So availability becomes an issue too. And part of the general contractor's job is to develop a loyal, responsive set of subcontractors, and so that they respond when he needs to. But it's definitely a seller's market right now in terms of tradespeople. Right.
Yeah, I've heard that too, and also permit time, because that can vary, right? What's that looking like?
It's in Denver proper. They're probably 8 to 10 weeks behind. What they'll tell you. They'll tell you 4 to 6 weeks, and my experience and recent experience has been 13 to 15 weeks. So, and I did talk to one of the folks there, and they say that permitting is up 30% last year over the year before. So
that's crazy.
We help people get through that too. In some of the other outlying municipalities, it's not nearly as much. So you can permit in as little as 4 or 5 days.
No, I hear that all the time. Denver is whatever, a couple of months, sometimes longer. And it seems to me it's a revenue stream for the city. They should pump that up.
I've talked with them about what I think they ought to do.
And I'm sure they're going to implement every suggestion.
I believe I was told they would.
Well,
and thanks for my input.
I hope they do. All right, Jim. I think that's very good. I mean, what we looked at today was basically a difference in new construction and remodeling, and why there's a pricing difference. We've looked at the type of projects that you're seeing happening in Denver, which is certainly what I see. A lot of master suite additions and first floor additions, as well as pop tops. And we talked a little bit about the timing and what to be prepared for there. I think it was excellent information. Jim, how do they get hold of you if they'd like to talk more about a project or just music, whatever you want to talk about? How do they get hold of Jim?
Contact us through our website, www.3rservicesdenver.com. They can call me at 303-359-4268, and that's probably the best way to get hold of us.
Very good. You may be viewing this on Jim's site. You may be viewing this on 247homeshow.com, or you may see it on social media. If it's not on Jim's site, you'll see a link to that site right below the video. And we have Jim on every month or so talking about different topics. If you'd like to get any particular questions answered, you can contact Jim or myself through his website. You can contact Jim through his website. You can contact me through 247 Home Show. Say, hey, I'd love to hear about this, and I'm sure Jim would like to discuss whatever questions you have. Jim, thanks very much for your time today. You're an excellent contractor. You've been around like forever. You have
2000.
2000. You have great references. I know I've talked to your customers many times, and that no matter what the project, you seem to create raving fans out of them, and that's a very good sign. You're a BBB member, and you're licensed, insured, and all that stuff, right?
Exactly.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we'll have Jim back in a month or so. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.